Done.
Pretty good.
Okay.
We're still missing something. Something doesn't look right.
We need to get the banner.
We need to get the banner. Where's the banner? I wasn't here. Where's the banner?
I actually don't know.
We don't have a banner. Right. Well, I guess we're gonna go with the black.
I guess we'll find the banner eventually. We'll turn up eventually.
We'll find the banner. But until we get the banner, this
is
SportsZone.
SportsZone.
Hello and welcome to the 2016 fall premiere of SportsZone. It's been a long summer. It's been a busy summer in the sports world, so we have a lot to cover in this segment and all the segments today, wrapping up what's going on coming up and what happened this past summer. I'm joined by Jessica for Studio 90, and it was a particularly busy summer this past summer in the soccer world. There was the Copa America held in the United States as well as the Euros. We'll start with the Copa America. Chile knocked off Argentina in the final. Messi's title with Argentina eludes him, but I think one of the bigger storylines from this was the performance of the U.S., who claimed fourth place kind of against the odds. They had a difficult group, progressed, lost kind of embarrassingly to Argentina in the semifinals. But Jessica, do you think this is a step forward for the U.S. going forward as they look to qualify for the 2018 World Cup?
Yes, I do. I think they played really well. Brazil obviously was not as great this tournament, and I think that the U.S. really showed that they've improved and they have a lot of young stars now, and I think that they'll be able to qualify and do really well in the 2018 World Cup.
Yeah, I think it was a coming out party for John Brooks, particularly in defense, played well, and the 17-year-old phenom Christian Pulisic got some playing time as well, so it looks good for the U.S. going forward. But the other big international tournament this summer was Euro 2016, held in France. The hosts fell agonizingly close at the final hurdle, losing to Portugal in the final. Jessica, what was your takeaway from a tournament that a lot of people said was kind of boring and really the best team didn't really win the tournament?
Yeah, I honestly was really surprised by the Euros. Wales made it pretty far. That was surprising. Like you said, in the final, Portugal was not the better team. And France had so much talent. It was kind of a shock that they didn't win. And I think that overall it kind of just showed that there's always surprises in soccer.
Definitely. I think one of my favorite moments was Iceland knocking off England in the round of 16. Always fun to see England kind of fail and see their fans flounder and complain about how their team's performing. But coming off the tails of the Euros, we talked about France and all their big stars. One of their biggest stars, Paul Pogba, made the most expensive transfer move in the transfer window history, of a move valued at about $108 million from Juventus to Manchester United. And that was a part of a lot of wide moves from across Europe to the Premier League. Jessica, do you think Pogba was the biggest transfer of the summer, or was it another transfer that caught your eye?
I definitely think he was. He has a lot of talent, and he came back to where he started, and I think that Manchester United is going to have a better lineup this year. They also made other really great transfers, and I can see them doing a lot better this year than last year.
Definitely. They are one of the favorites in the Europa League for sure, with their new manager, Jose Mourinho, who went from Chelsea to Manchester United. We have Pep Guardiola, the former Barcelona and Bayern Munich manager in Manchester City, as well as the former Italy boss Antonio Conte in Chelsea. And those are kind of the big three in England at the moment. Do you see one of those three separating, or those teams separating themselves at the top of the pack?
I can see Manchester City rising up, just because Pep is such a great coach. He's proved that with all the teams that he's played with. He has a much better stats compared to Mourinho.
He's got definitely a distinct style, and you can see it already in the way that Manchester City plays. And Raheem Sterling, who under Manuel Pellegrini kind of looked like he kind of forgot how to play soccer, has emerged and played really well at the beginning of the season. Sergio Aguero is scoring goals. They've got their goalkeeping situation figured out at the moment, and they have a big match this weekend against Manchester United, the Manchester Derby. It's always a little early in the season to kind of talk about matches that have title implications, but this match certainly feels big with both the new managers. How do you see that one shaking out this weekend?
I can see a tie happening just because I know Aguero's not going to be there. You know, he's really important in the Manchester City lineup, a very important player overall. And so definitely I see a tie happening this weekend.
I could definitely see that. Jose Mourinho typically in big matches sort of takes a conservative approach, even with the wealth of talent at his disposal. One team we haven't talked about at all, who was kind of the surprise package of last season, that was Leicester City, the 2015 Barclays Premier League champions, who have kind of struggled out the gates. They retained two of their three big stars, Riyad Mahrez and Jamie Vardy. N'Golo Kante made the transfer from Leicester to Chelsea, but I think a lot of people saw this coming. It was a one-season wonder type thing. Do you think Leicester are going to kind of be relegated to mid-table, or do you think they'll be in a bigger relegation fight this season?
I can definitely see them mid-table. You know, it's no surprise that, like you said, they would not do as well this season. It was kind of like it was a big surprise. I feel like Leicester City depends a lot on certain players, and that isn't gonna go well for many seasons. So that's my take on that.
I would agree. It seemed they had the high dependence on those two or three players, and even an injury or a transfer, something like that, could just throw them off the ribbon, and they've really been out of sync. Jamie Vardy looks like the Jamie Vardy who he was for the other 28 years of his life, not last year where he was phenomenal. But that'll be an interesting story to follow going forward, as will all the stories in the Premier League. We'll keep you up to date on that as the sports season term progresses. That's all the time we have this time for Studio 90. Stick around for more Sports Zone after this.
Hello and welcome back to more SportsZone, and welcome to our newly christened fantasy football segment, The Galleon and the Gridiron. My name is Jake Elmsley, and I'm here to tell you all the ways to have success in your Week 1 fantasy matchups and beyond. We're going to be starting out here with a couple of draft tips I have for all you folks out there today. My first big draft tip for this year is do not spend on tight ends. If you think if you're in love with Rob Gronkowski and you think you can snag him at the end of the first round, top of the second round, that's fine. But after that, no go. Don't draft Greg Olsen in the 5th or 6th round. Don't draft Travis Kelce in the 6th or 7th. There are plenty of high-quality options that you can grab at the very end of drafts. I've done mock drafts this year where I've been able to get Jimmy Graham in the last round. And besides him, there are a ton of quality options at tight end. You can get guys like Dwayne Allen, who's poised for a much bigger year this year without Kobe Fleener around, or a guy like Julius Thomas, who I think in that growingly potent Jacksonville passing attack with an actual offseason under his belt will put up fine numbers this year and remind us all of the talent he was in Denver. And there's just all kinds of tight ends you can get at the end of drafts. Also, going the exact opposite of that, the position I think you need to get early in drafts this year is running back. If you're in a PPR league and you want to draft a wide receiver high, that's fine. But really this year, more so than ever, there are so few bell cow running backs in this league now that waiting on one can really end up with you starting somebody like I don't even want to think about who you can get if you're trying to get your running backs in the 5th or 6th round. Now, moving on from that, we're going to move into the now. We're going to move on to my big sleepers for Week 1. We're going to do one at each position, and I'll explain to you why. At QB this year, a player who I am ecstatic to get the chance to talk about is Big Dak Prescott there in Dallas. He's somebody who I'm sure you can nab off the waiver wire in your league. I know what you might be thinking. He's a rookie QB. I know what you also might be thinking. You might remember all those big additions that the Giants made to their defense this year. Guys like Janoris Jenkins, Damian Harrison, and Oliver Vernon. And they might have gone out and spent a lot of money, but one thing that they didn't buy for that defense is chemistry. These are guys who are still learning how to work together, guys who are still learning how to work together under a fairly new coaching staff. And I just think that will lead to a couple of chemistry issues, some miscommunications that will give Dak Prescott, who is going behind the best O-line in the NFL, by the way, and has 2 top-tier red zone targets in Des Bryant and Jason Witten, the chance to put up very, very respectable numbers for a team that might not like their QB1 for this week. Also at running back, a player who I like a lot is Giovanni Bernard, and let me explain to you why. The Bengals, of course, are going up against the Jets this week, and while they also have Jeremy Hill there, Jeremy Hill is going to be facing down their very potent defensive line. That, while not having Sheldon Richardson this week because of his suspension, do still have Leonard Williams and a lockdown Muhammad Wilkerson, which will make the power running game that Jeremy Hill is the primary component of in that offense not the most effective way to go about, which will lead to plenty of passing, of course, at the running back position in Cincinnati goes right to big old Gio Bernard, who will have every chance to absorb all the targets that have left in Mohamed Sanu and Marvin Jones. Now, at the wide receiver position this week, a player who I like a lot, if you're looking for a late, maybe a guy who maybe for your 1 week fantasy team, maybe you don't like your wide receivers and you want somebody new for this week off the waiver wire, a guy who I'm sure will be available in most leagues is Travis Benjamin in San Diego. You remember him last year for his big chunk plays in Cleveland. But this week they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that, while you do know has a good defense, has a good secondary with Marcus Peters and Eric Berry at safety, you have to look at it this way. Marcus Peters will be covering Keenan Allen, and he'll do a fine bang-up job. I love Marcus Peters, but then you have to remember Sean Smith left them to go to the Raiders this year, meaning that for them, at cornerback 2, they are currently starting Steven Johnson, a rookie out of Oregon who they drafted in the 3rd round, I'm willing to take my chances with a player like Travis Benjamin getting passes from a QB like Phillip Rivers on a rookie cornerback. So look at Travis Benjamin this week. Finally, at tight end, I have my sleeper of the week is Martellus Bennett. Martellus Bennett, of course, is on New England after being traded there from Chicago. And while you might be a little wary, think that they have Jimmy Garoppolo there at QB, that's actually the reason I like him so much. Of course, they have Rob Gronkowski at tight end, but what does a rookie QB, an inexperienced QB, love more than a safety blanket? And what do safety blankets come in the form of? Big tight ends. So while Rob Gronkowski will, of course, get plenty of targets that he rightfully deserves, Martellus Bennett will be right there to maybe get a touchdown, get enough safety, take some of those safety blanket passes away, and hopefully put up decent numbers for a team that, once again, is looking for a tight end sub for this week. Anyway, my name's Jake Elmsley, and that's all I have to say this week, and we'll be coming at you soon with more Sports Zone.
Hello, and welcome back to SportsZone. This is our fall 2016 season premiere, and in order to celebrate a season premiere, we're going to have a very special segment, a one-time only segment here on SportsZone. We're calling it Passing the Torch. And of course, over the summer while we were away, the Summer Olympics happened, so we want to go back and recap all the major stories and give our love to all those Olympic athletes who represented their countries. So we're going to start in the pool. It's been, an area of U.S. dominance in recent years. Of course, everybody knows Michael Phelps, and that is, of course, where we're going to start. Another outstanding performance from Phelps, medaling in all of his events. I believe 4 out of the 5 were golds, including a silver. And of course, the famous now meme as well, Michael Phelps, in what he says will be his last Olympics. So Vince, what, of course, solidifies his legacy as one of the greatest Olympians of all time in any sport. But how did he manage to keep this up? It's his 4th Olympics, and he's just as good as he was in his first one.
To answer the question quite simply, I don't know how Michael Phelps does what he does. It was pretty spectacular. After London, he kind of had a disappointing end, and that was supposed to be the end for him, but he said, you know what, I'm not going to end like that. I lost the 200 butterfly, which was his race, and that, sparked the famous meme, the focus. He really wanted to beat the South African, I believe, who beat him in London, and that was the driving force for him, but that wasn't the only race that he performed in. Every time he got in the pool, NBC was showing his schedule. He had 20 minutes in between races to cool down, warm up, medal ceremony, race, relay. It was just kind of phenomenal to see. I think we're all just can count ourselves lucky to see a dominant performer like Phelps in his prime and throughout his entire career. I would count myself lucky to see Michael Phelps.
Absolutely. Certainly he said that he's done, as he did after London. This time maybe more finite, as he did go out with a bang, of course. And, of course, crushing the individual events, but even the relay. I believe when he went in for the relay of one of his events, the USA was behind by a couple seconds, and by the time he was done, they had the lead, and they went on to cruise and win on the strength of his length. So staying in the pool, but shifting over to the women's side, if you want to talk dominance, one of the most dominant single Olympic performances, without a doubt, Katie Ledecky blew away the competition. And that's really an understatement. Yeah. Won her races by, half of a pool in some cases, like the 800 back.
Right.
She won by half a pool over the entire field. Certainly an outstanding performance from the 19-year-old. Hasn't even gone to college yet. Just utterly incredible performance.
I would definitely say so. And as we see one of the greats like Michael Phelps leaving the sport of swimming, I think we've crowned the next great in Katie Ledecky. At the London Olympics, she only did the 800 freestyle, I believe, but then she wanted to up her program and added the 400 and 200, which is pretty unheard of. That's like a distance runner deciding that they want to do the 200-meter sprint and then winning and setting a world record doing so. It's like pretty unheard of. And what she did, I believe she's undefeated in world championships and Olympics in single events. She's like 16 or 17-0, never been beaten. The only thing she's competing against is her previous world record that she's proceeding to break. It's phenomenal to watch.
Absolutely, and we'll stay on the women's side. Of course, Ledecky dominant, but a bit of a surprise win for the U.S. in women's swimming. Lily King, now famous, did the Dikembe Mutombo finger wag in her semi-heat, which she actually didn't win, but lost, I believe, to the Russian swimmer, and then came out in the final and pulled out a close one to take the gold medal. And of course, a big deal because a Russian swimmer previously caught for doping over the most recent Olympics, Russian doping scandal. There's a lot going on there. So it was a really kind of surprising performance from her.
Definitely, and I think it was a statement. Obviously, she wanted to make it a statement after her win, saying that she could win clean and athletes could win clean. And she used that to kind of make a broad statement just about doping in general, saying, it doesn't matter what country you're from. She called out, I believe, U.S. track athlete LaShawn Merritt for his previous doping and said that's just not okay. So I think it was a big win for her, and she was representative of just a wider picture of young Olympic swimmers for the Americans doing really well. They didn't have a lot of veterans, they had a lot of unknowns, and they didn't really know what their expectations were going to be going into the pool, but they had one of their most successful programs, I think, in recent history. So Lily King and all the young American swimmers did phenomenal.
And of course, have to include Simone Manuel in that as well, the first African-American to win a gold in a swimming event, which is, of course, a monumental occasion as well. So we'll transition a little bit away from swimming to another dominant American sport. This time we're going to go gymnastics.
Right.
AU again cleaning up the medal count there, winning gold in the team, and then of course led by Simone Biles, who won gold in one other event. I think it's another silver.
Right.
Ali Raceman adds 2 silvers. So, that whole team, again, another strong performance from the American side on that.
Definitely, and I think this Olympics, the underlying story was seeing the best in the world at what they do compete, or possibly the best of all time. We had Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, and lots of people in the gymnastics world. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert at gymnastics, but they're calling Simone Biles the greatest gymnast of all time. She's now, I believe, a 4-time defending all-around champion, which is pretty unheard of. She's not even 20 yet. She blew away the competition and would have set a record for most gold medals in a single Olympics if not for a slip on the balance beam. That was the only thing she did wrong, and even when she messed up, she still gets a bronze medal. So I think watching gymnastics, and I'm pretty amazed by all the gymnasts, but Simone Biles and the U.S. Olympic team was a step above the rest for sure.
So we'll shift over to actually an athlete you mentioned when you're talking about among the greats, Usain Bolt, for his 3rd Olympics and what he said will be his final Olympics. Not an American athlete, but certainly the best at his craft, which is for sprinting. Again, running the 100, the 200, and the 400. And clean sweep for Mr. Bolt for the 3rd consecutive Olympics.
It's absolutely unprecedented. I think he's cemented his legacy as the greatest track and field athlete possibly of all time. Maybe you could argue Carl Lewis, but Usain Bolt, what he was able to do was phenomenal. And it really didn't look like he was troubled at all. He won most of his races by 3 or 4 tenths of a second, which in sprinting is like 10 meters or 5 to 10 meters. It wasn't even close. He didn't really even have to exert himself. He didn't run the greatest times, but everyone else in the world is just that much slower than him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, he sometimes doesn't even look like he's running all that hard to win. He just kind of cruises down the track so easily. We'll stick with track and just kind of hit a big one. The 1500, certainly the opposite of a sprint, but a very meaningful gold medal. Matt Centrowitz Jr. winning the gold for the United States. But we have a point of pride here at American University in that he's actually the son of our very own track and field coach, also named Matt Centrowitz. So there's a big AU contingent, a lot of pride here from the AU community. Even though Matt doesn't go here,
Right.
we still kind of feel as if he's one of ours. So we kind of claim him like that in that way. So he was here, I think, last week,
Yep.
just to hang out and bring the gold medal around. And I think the first gold medal, I think, in the 1500 in over 100 years for the United States.
I think so. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. I think he missed out on a bronze medal at the London Olympics by 4/100ths of a second. So he's been at the top of his craft. That used that disappointment to kind of fuel him, and got back and ran the perfect game plan for the 1500, which is no slouch of a race, and it's pretty grueling. But that was a big step, and one of many steps for American distance running, who really had a good performance on the track for the first time in a long time.
And of course, now he and his dad, both Olympic medalists. He does have a tattoo across his chest that says "like father, like son," and no more is that true than it is now that he's won his gold medal. That is going to wrap up our Olympic coverage. That's all for passing the torch, probably for the next 2 years until the Winter Olympics come around. Stay tuned for more Sports Zone coming up after this.
Hello and welcome back to more Sports Zone. This is our NFL segment, Going for Two. I'm Jake Robert Elms, and I'm joined here by Vincent Salandro, and we're here to talk to you about all of the hype going into Week 1 of the 2016 long-awaited NFL season. We're going to start here with the biggest news to come out of the last couple of days. It was not a cut. It was not a player getting added to a practice squad, but it was a trade of a starting quarterback by the Philadelphia Eagles, trading Sam Bradford to the Minnesota Vikings for a first-round pick this year and a fourth-round pick in 2018. So I'm going to first ask, Vincent, what do you think about this trade?
I think it makes a lot of sense for the Eagles. They wanted to get rid of it. They drafted Carson Wentz, obviously with the intention of him being the starter. They clearly have a lot of confidence if they're going to trade away Sam Bradford. But for the Vikings, it was a desperation move, obviously losing Teddy Bridgewater so close to the beginning of the season. And I think it's giving up way too much for a quarterback who really, at this point in his NFL career, has not proven himself at all to be even a definitive starter for an NFL franchise.
You know, I completely agree with that, Vincent. While I think that the Vikings were a team that had a chance to contend this year, but really they're not a team like the Jets. They're not a team who most of their best players are plus 30, older guys who are getting to the end of their career. The Vikings are an extremely young team, save for Adrian Peterson, who's obviously getting up there. But besides his window, almost all of their best defenders are under 25, under 26. I think that this is a team that, while obviously no team wants to make this kind of move, no team wants to go, we'll just kind of wait till next year, everybody's young. But this is a team that really could have afforded to do that, kind of coast on a Sean Hill or another quarterback that they could have brought in for cheaper. The big thing, the reason I think this trade probably went through and why they were willing to give up so much is, though, you need to remember, though, the Vikings are opening up a brand new stadium this year. And to me, this has to be an ownership decision, them wanting to not have the fans walk into their brand new state-of-the-art stadium to watch, Sean Hill at QB, watch Austin Davis at QB. I mean, clearly they wanted somebody who would still excite the fan bases. And while I do think that Sam Bradford could have a chance now that he's put in a very optimal situation as a QB with a very strong running game, with a very strong defense, I think he could actually have the chance to have an Alex Smith-type late career revival. I just think that the Vikings could have gotten somebody who would have been close to as effective for just far less. But this is a league where quarterbacks are valued highly. But giving out a first-round pick for 1 year rental just doesn't do it for me. But what this does do is makes the Eagles-Browns matchup this year far more compelling for people besides Deepak. What it does is now you have the Browns, the team that traded away the right to draft Carson Wentz, having to face down Carson Wentz this year. So besides regular intrigue with the Browns, obviously with the return of RG3, seeing what Hugh Jackson can do there, now you have the Browns having to face down the one quarterback in recent memory who they've ever skipped out on. So that's fun. What about you, Vince? Any matchups that you're interested in for this week?
I think we could take a look. Interesting matchup between the Packers and the Jaguars opening week. We've got the Jaguars, who are a very young team. They've got a lot of skill positions that are very young and very talented. And last year, it kind of seemed like it was an almost year for them, a year away. They needed to bulk up their defense. Their offense was very strong. They did some good drafting. They lost their first-round draft pick on the first day of practice before last season, so that was unfortunate. And then the Packers bringing back their big weapon. We saw Aaron Rodgers have an un-Aaron Rodgers-like season last year without his big target, Jordy Nelson, so he's back. it'll be interesting to see if he's as effective, if there's any lingering effect from those knee injuries. And we were talking about it, Eddie Lacy.
Not so much of a big target now.
Not as big as he used to be. Kind of figured out the weight situation. We'll see if he's as effective as a downhill runner. Maybe he's a little faster, but it'll be kind of interesting to see where those teams are. And honestly, not a lot of strong first week matchups, but that's one that's kind of got a little intrigue and maybe a little mystery as well.
Right, and then finally, I think that one of the most intriguing matchups of this week, which of course I'm saying unbiasedly, is the New England Patriots versus the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday Night Football, 8:30 on NBC. This matchup is of course very interesting because the quarterback who everybody in the world is upset is suspended, Tom Brady, will be being filled in for by Jimmy Garoppolo getting his first NFL start. And to me, I think that the Patriots in this stretch, while I think this is easily their toughest game in this 4-game stretch without Tom Brady, and this is the one I think they would be the most likely to lose. I think the Patriots really do have a very good chance of going 3-1, 2-2 in this stretch because the Patriots defense, obviously, with another year, their secondary is going to be much better between Malcolm Butler, Logan Ryan, and the newly drafted Cyrus Jones filling in that third or maybe even second cornerback role. And of course, you have the development and the monsters there in the linebacker position of Jamie Collins and Dante Hightower. And obviously, even without Ninkovich, even without Ninkovich and even with the trade of Chandler Jones, I think that their front seven is still one of the strengths of this team. And I think that Jimmy Garoppolo will have a fairly good chance of having many great, of course, as I've used this term before, security blanket receivers with Rob Gronkowski, with Martellus Bennett, with Julian Edelman, with maybe even Danny Amendola if he's able to be back. And also a lot of the teams you're looking at, they play 3 games at home where they're always dominant. So once again, besides this Arizona game, which is going to be very tough for them to win without Brady. Then they play the Texans, who are starting Brock Osweiler, who they gave big money to after only 6 starts, who, mind you, will now have J.J. Watt back, which obviously complicates things more. They'll be playing the Bills, who, they've routinely been able to beat consistently. And they're playing the Dolphins, who they've routinely been able to beat consistently because the last 3 weeks of last year's regular season didn't happen. So that's all my thoughts on matchups this week. Do you have anything, Vince?
I think it'll just be interesting to see young quarterbacks. We mentioned Carson Wentz, to see if LA decides to go with Jared Goff or who they decide to throw out. There's a lot of intrigue there. LA debuting its new team. It'll probably be the Todd Gurley show for them, at least offensively. That's kind of a little bit of intrigue. We see some guys coming back from injuries, but I think in the first week it'll just be exciting to figure out what the storylines are because everything that we think going into the season, one play, one injury, one slip, and the complexion of the league could change. So, very true, Vince. Well, I know you're, and all of us at SportsZone are very excited for the upcoming NFL season, and we will see you next week to discuss it. And we will see you very soon for more SportsZone.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the SportsZone season premiere. I am Dan, and I'm back to give you the AU Insiders panel once again. It is the fall, which means we are super busy again. The busiest season here we have at American. All kinds of sports are inactive. I'm going to give you the rundown of what's going on. To start, we're going to open with AU Field Hockey. Just wrapped up a 4-game homestand to open their season. 3-1 overall. Certainly a solid start. Just yesterday on Sunday, they upset number 19 in the country, James Madison. That was at home. The final score 2-1 in that one. So they've defeated now Richmond, James Madison, as well as William and Mary. All three of those teams at least receiving votes in the preseason top 20. And as I said, James Madison at number 19. The one loss coming to Old Dominion. They were ranked number 20 at the time. So a very promising start for Steve Jennings' crew. Steve Jennings, of course, back from Rio. He was an assistant coach with the Olympic field hockey team, the women's field hockey team for the United States. So he's looking to carry over some Olympic success to some Patriot League success for his squad. It'll be a good matchup, and actually, the top two teams in the conference last year was AU and Boston University will face off the last game of the season at Jacobs Field. That should be a good one. That could be deciding the regular season champion as well if things go as they did last season. But of course, lots of seasons still to go, so we'll have to stay tuned and see. Next, we will move to men's soccer. The men are actually currently on a road trip. They went up to UPenn and then to Texas. They just recently played Southern Methodist University, SMU, who were ranked number 25 in the country. That was also yesterday. And the Eagles pulled off a win. It's another upset for an Eagles team. 3-1 is the final there, as they scored 3 in the second half to upend a top 25 team. This is now the third season in a row that they've beaten a top 25 opponent in non-conference play. The Eagles actually coming in as the preseason Patriot League number 1, amid a little bit of controversy, actually. They had more points than Boston U, who was ranked second, but BU had more first-place votes. Someone, it appears, on the voting panel may have buried BU at the bottom of their bracket, which cost them some points and bumps AU up to that number 1 preseason spot. But it'll be close. Were the top 2 teams in the not the top 2 teams. AU was the third seed in the tournament last year. But AU coming off a loss in the conference final in soccer and a potential snub at the Patriot League tournament as well. Perhaps underperformed a little bit during conference play. They look to shake that this year, as they are a really solid team. And as I said, third year beating a top 25 opponent. So you'd think that, they should, if they can keep that going into conference play, certainly could be a good season. And it'll be interesting to see that conflict between them and BU, who's going to take the conference, both in the regular season and the tournament. Moving into the gym, volleyball, a bit of a slower start than we're used to seeing for them. Their first 4 matches all going to 5 sets, including 2 losses, but 1 at the hands of number 7, Washington, the Huskies. So that one certainly excusable. That was the big Bender Blueout game, as I said, against that top 10 opponent. But they also played Howard and George Mason, some local teams, and all those going to 5 sets. And then recently heading on the road for another tournament, 2 games in one day, and actually swept both of those. So perhaps getting their feet under them a little bit. But a very different team. No Monika Schmidova graduated. No Kristina Lindowska, she graduated. And some injuries hurting as well. It's going to be a young team this year, but still some players to watch. Look for Ola Kazala, who had a really strong Bender Blueout performance, and I believe is also a preseason Patriot League, all Patriot League team selection, as well as Hawakale Dawson, the setter. I believe she's actually currently recovering from a minor injury, but when she comes back, she was also named to the preseason all-conference team. Finally, the women's soccer team, a bit of a struggle for them off the bat, 0-6 to open their season. They'll play 2 more games at home this week, one on Thursday and then one on Sunday as part of a big doubleheader, which should be very interesting. A doubleheader, women's, men's soccer back-to-back at Reeves Field. Highly encourage everyone, if you're in the D.C. area, to go, because that should be a blast. 2 consecutive soccer games should be awesome. But it's, again, all non-conference, so in reality, these games don't matter a ton. It's almost a glorified preseason. A very, very, very young team for the AU women's soccer team. They're starting 7 out of 11 underclassmen. Just 3 seniors in the starting lineup and 1 junior. Everyone else either a sophomore or a freshman. Some questions at goalkeeper as well. So coach is trying to get a lot of looks at everyone and see who provides the best options come regular season. But the offense is going to have to pick it up just a little bit. It's been, one of those games they haven't scored in about 200 or so minutes of actual game time. They're going to have to pick it up. Defense as well needs a bit of work. They've been averaging about 3 goals against allowed per game. But I said they've used all 3 of their keepers, still trying to find the answer there. But future's bright, because as I said, it's a young team. They played some quality opponents in the non-conference schedule, so we'll see if their fortunes turn once the conference schedule starts. It was a big step forward for them last year, making the Patriot League tournament as a 6th seed, even if they were defeated by, I believe it was Navy in the first round. But some big steps forward. You hope that they can keep that progress going and still make progress and go forward and still perform well in conference play. But that does remain to be seen. Still a couple weeks until conference play begins. And then, of course, we will give you an update as well. Kaylee Watson, if you go to AU, you probably know, did go to Rio to play in the Olympics. She's a swimmer for the AU swim and dive team. They're not in season right now, but we here at SportsZone want to wish our congratulations to Kaylee for representing the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's certainly an honor for her, and it looks good on the American University Athletics program as well. So I want to wish her our congratulations on a very strong performance in the Olympics representing the Virgin Islands. That is all we have today for AU Insiders. Be sure to check back next week for your full AU Athletics wrap-up. We've got more SportsZone coming at you after this. Hello and welcome back to the SportsZone season premiere. I am Dan. I have Kristen here with me. I'm sure this is the first of a couple all Mets fan baseball segments we're going to do. So take that, Deepak. I know you didn't want to see it, but here it is. Anyway, we missed a lot of baseball season over the summer break, and I missed all the season because I have not been in America, as you know, from the spring. But we are going to catch up on what we've missed, which is a lot, as I said. A couple races are really kind of out of reach at this point. The Cubs running away with the National League Central. They're up, I think, by 15. National League East, not all that close either. The Nationals up by about 8. So barring a 2007 Mets collapse, they should win that division. But the National League West is tight. The Giants had it for most of the season. Dodgers closed the ground. Giants falling a little bit. Dodgers now have a small lead, 2.5, 3 games or so. And reinforcements about to come. Clayton Kershaw, supposed to start on Friday after missing several months with a back issue. Kristen, what does Kershaw bring to this Dodgers team that's hoping to pull away?
I think Clayton Kershaw means so much to that team, and it's going to be really interesting to see how he bounces back from injury. And with the Giants struggling a bit as of late, I think it could prove to be just a huge addition for them as they continue to push forward.
Absolutely. The Dodgers have really been killed by pitching or injuries, especially on the pitching staff. Kershaw went down. Kenta Maeda has been down. Rich Hill, who they traded for, has only made, I think, 2 starts for them. It's been a whole lot of issues for them, and yet still in first place. Giants, as we said, falling off a little bit. But that brings us to the wild card, because the Giants, currently holding that first wild card spot, it's a little precarious. I believe they're up by about 2.5. The Cardinals in the 2 spot. The Mets now in 3rd, and after a win today on Monday, so this is still subject to change by the time you see this, but this is Monday. The Mets just half a game behind the Cardinals for that 2nd spot. So, the Mets going on a bit of a run here. It's been a really nice, last 2 weeks or so for them. And they've been making it work despite really being at about half strength from what we saw on opening day.
So, yeah, the Mets this summer have faced so many injuries, and it's just pretty amazing to see how they've continued to stay in it with this past weekend and 3 very important games against the Nationals, and they were able to take 2 then, and now starting off strong again this week. It's going to be really interesting to see this wild card, and it's September baseball and anything can happen, so we'll see coming down the stretch who comes out on top.
Absolutely, yeah. September baseball. This is the fun part. So while it's upsetting we missed 3 months, we're back for the best part. That last stretch run, about 22 games or so left for each team. It's going to come down to the wire for some. So now we'll transition away from the National League over to the American League. Some more close races on that side, notably the American League East. It is a total logjam at the top. It's currently, I believe, the Blue Jays sitting in first place, Boston and Baltimore hot on their heels, and all of a sudden the Yankees looking like they know what they're doing after, first half of the season. It was a bit of a struggle. They had a fire sale. They traded Beltran. A-Rod retired. Teixeira's retiring. And now all of a sudden, it's a little infusion of some youth, and the Yankees look like they're legit again. Gary Sanchez is playing out of this world. But my question for you is it going to be enough? They have 3 teams to jump if they want to win the division. They're going to have to catch either Baltimore and or Boston to get a wild card. Can it be done?
I think it's just been so crazy to see how the Yankees have turned this around. In the beginning of the season, I didn't think at all they had any chance to be in this spot today where they are, with selling all their players and basically just the floor has come out from under them. But now with these new players, it's been unbelievable to watch them, and you never know what can happen. So that's what September baseball is all about. So we'll see.
It definitely is. So as I said, currently 3 American League East teams, if the season ended today, would make the playoffs. But the Detroit Tigers just half a game out of that 2nd wild card spot behind, I believe Baltimore is currently in the 2, but they go back and forth with Boston and Toronto because, as I said, they're really close, right on each other's tails. Detroit, after a down year last year, all of a sudden starting to look alive again. Miguel Cabrera, still one of the best hitters on the planet. J.D. Martinez is back healthy. Victor Martinez, somehow, despite having no knees, is still playing well. And Michael Fulmer, acquired in the trade for Yoenis Cespedes with the Mets, looks like he's a legitimate Major League pitcher this year. A shot for Rookie of the Year. So that's one of those odd trades, it looks like, that works for both sides. What didn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. I think especially Jonas Cespedes for the Mets has been unbelievable. I don't think they could be where they are right now without him. And since he's come back from that injury, he's put the team on his back. So definitely I think it worked out for both sides.
Also not to be discounted on the Tigers and Justin Verlander pitching like it's 2009 again. Ever since he's been engaged to Kate Upton, all of a sudden it's like he's defied time. And last year, not great until the very end of the season, kind of figured it out. And there was concerns that he was getting up there in age. Is he going to be the ace that the Tigers needed him to be? And it looks like he is. It looks like he's kind of figured that out and got it going. And he's been very helpful. It's another big reason why they are as competitive as they are. Just another quick wrap up around the rest of the American League. The Texas Rangers now leading the American League West, and the Cleveland Indians leading the Central. Could it be 2016 is the year for Cleveland? They got their title from the Cavs. The Indians look really good. What are your thoughts on Cleveland this year?
I think Cleveland, they're in a very good spot to do a lot of damage late down the stretch, so it would be really good for the city of Cleveland to have 2 championships. I personally hope it doesn't happen, but we'll see. The
world might explode if the Cubs and the Indians make the World Series the same year. I couldn't, that's just 2 teams that are just so maligned all the time. It'd certainly be very interesting. That is all the time we have currently for our baseball segment, getting to third base, which I forgot to say at the start, but that's what it's called. Of course, be sure to check back with us next week, as I'm sure all these standings will be different, and we'll have to reanalyze everything. But anyway, keep watching for more SportsZone after this.
Hello and welcome to SportsZone's final segment, everyone's favorite segment, Thumbles, thumbs up, thumbs down, where we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly in the world of sports, and maybe we'll diverge into the life in general. But I'll just give a big thumbs up. SportsZone is back. I'm really happy about that. I'm sure everyone, all our viewers at home, however many that would be, missed us. But on the flip side of that, thumbs down, because classes are back in swing and they hit hard. I'm nursing an injury to the brain right now from classes. We'll see. I'm listed day to day. We'll see how I recover from that. We'll give thumbs up because the Premier League's back. Arsenal is testing my emotions already and putting me through an emotional roller coaster with their lack of performance. Are they going to sign somebody? They sign somebody. They do well. Somebody gets hurt, and I missed it, and my heart and emotional capacity missed it as well. Thumbs up. Week 1 for NFL is right around the corner. We'll see how the Steelers do. Thumbs down to the NFL for being stupid and suspending Le'Veon Bell for reasons that really aren't known. They also kind of just really, I don't know why they reduced his suspension. That was kind of stupid. If you're going to leave it at 4, just go for it. Thumbs down for all the stupid Al Jazeera stuff. But thumbs up for James Harrison for being kind of cool and just trolling the NFL the entire time, because he's James Harrison and he just doesn't care at all, ever. And that's all my thumbs for this week.
Thumbs up for the slide not hitting anything. Thumbs down for us not having anything to hit. I really love the banner. Thumbs down to Cody not being here. Thumbs up for me finding out they didn't graduate last year. He was a very pleasant man. Can't wait to see you again, Cody. Thumbs down for Harambe being dead. That's really sad. Thumbs up to Trevor Siemian, though, just because I love seeing new quarterbacks. I don't know if they're good. Don't care if they're going to be good. I just love seeing new ones who I can hear be on a different team in 2 years. Thumbs up to Jimmy Garoppolo for beginning his Hall of Fame career. Thumbs down to Roger Goodell. That's all I got on that. Thumbs up on rugby being in the Olympics. That was cool. Like rugby. And what else do I got? Just thumbs up. Oh, thumbs up for us having a fantasy segment. Enjoyed that. And that's all I got. So see you next time. See you next time.
Oh. Okay. Thumbs up to that the school year has started. Thumbs down to Vince said before that schoolwork has started. It's pretty rough. It's only the second week and my brain is killing me. Thumbs up to the Mets. They are actually doing well after this whole season of like injuries hurting them, and it's like, oh, the pitching, whatever. They're finally doing well. Thumbs up to the Knicks for getting Derrick Rose. Hopefully there'll be a good signing. And I think that's it.
Thumbs up to the first episode of SportsZone. I know that I'm really happy to be back here. I love doing this, and I'm really happy to see everybody. Thumbs up to all of the MLB teams that are in the playoff hunt, specifically the wild card. It's going to be really exciting to see down the stretch how everybody does. The pressure's on, and I'm really looking forward to watching that. Thumbs up to David Wright for the birth of his beautiful daughter, Olivia Shea. Congratulations to him, and also thumbs up to him on his road to recovery. We're really excited to see you back again, hopefully soon, hopefully opening day next year. And thumbs up to the NFL coming back soon, and let's go Giants, and that's all I have.
Okay, so thumbs up to being back on SportsZone. This year should be a lot of fun. Thumbs up to the Manchester Derby this weekend. I really look forward to seeing a good game. And thumbs up to NFL, Seattle Seahawks. Love them.
Ooh, all right. Here we go. I'm on it. I'm there. We're good. All right. Ooh, don't want to go too far. This is weird. This sliding. It's been a while. All right. I'm back. Thumbs up. I'm rusty. I'm gonna stick to the cards. I got notes for this one. So I'm gonna start. Thumbs up. USA Olympic swimming. We hit it during our one-time only Olympics segment. Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky, Lily King, Simone Manuel, the relay team, everyone, the medals and stuff. That's awesome. We love it. Also, bonus thumb, not AU Gymnastics. We don't have a team. USA Gymnastics. Also, dominant performance in the Olympics, which again, we touched on that. Thumbs up. I'll jump off Kristen's on David Wright. Neil Walker also had a baby, so we'll throw a thumb there. Thumbs down to the Mets training staff. I'm not sure how anyone still has a job. It blows my mind that Ray Ramirez has been with this team for like 15 years, like literally as long as I can remember, and as long as I've been alive, and every year somebody gets hurt, and it's the same injury every time, and they always misdiagnose it at first, and I just don't understand. Anywho, that's a rant. That's a rant for another time. Thumbs up roster expansion, I guess. That's fun. Football's back. Thumbs up there. Thumbs up AU Athletics is back. I'm trying to think. I don't even know if I have any thumbs down. Oh, thumbs down Ryan Lochte. Come on, man. Come on. You're better than that. Although maybe you're not. I don't know. So thumbs down to the Lochte mess. Thumbs up for the Olympics. Thumbs down Lionel Messi. Missed a penalty kick with a chance to give Argentina a major tournament championship, and he's the greatest player in the world. He missed a penalty kick over the bar, and then subsequently semi-retired from international soccer. Also, thumbs down. Why'd you dye your hair blonde for? Not a fan, Leo. Not a fan. Think that is all my thumbs, so I'm going to go on to thank you. So we got Kristen, Jake, Aviva, Jessica, and Vince. Of course, we're here. Big thanks to them. One final thumbs down that Deepak graduated. I miss you, buddy. Come back anytime you want. You're always welcome here. So those are the thanks. We're actually going to try something new on SportsZone this year. Most of you probably don't know we actually have a Twitter page. So follow us on Twitter. I'm going to put the name of it somewhere on the screen. There's going to be a graphic, probably beneath me, but somewhere on the screen there's going to be a graphic that says our Twitter page. It's at ATV SportsZone. Follow it. We're going to post a Twitter poll. We're trying something new. We want your feedback, and then we're going to talk about what you voted next week on the show. So our question for the first week, with week 1 of football coming up, our question is going to be, which replacement quarterback is going to have a better first week to the season? Sam Bradford in Minnesota, now freshly traded, or Dak Prescott, your backup in Dallas with Tony Romo out with a back injury? So let us know what you think. If you think there's a third option, maybe. I'm not sure there is a third option, but if you think there is one, you can just reply and let us know. We might read some. I'm not sure there's a third option, but if you come up with a good one, we'll read it. A final thumb, again, that I forgot. as I haven't been reading my notes, which I said I was going to do. Bradley Burns of the AU class of 2005, an original host of this very show, got married, I think last week, or like 2 weekends ago. So we want to issue a thumbs up to an original sports owner. And they sent us a message on Facebook, on Twitter, which was very nice. So bonus, the big time thumbs up there. Congratulations. That is all I have. I promise, for real this time. So for all of us, I said Kristen, Aviva, Vince, Jake. I am Dan. We'll see you next week.